and welcome to another Sunday morning with the Blerd Church of Anime. I am your preacher, teacher, cult leader, whatever you would like to call me. You can call me Black Star, though. That's who I am. Happy to be here with y'all for another Sunday service and all things blerdy and nerdy and geeky. I had such a busy week. So super busy. The weekend was busy. Everything was busy. It was fun though, but also I worked a lot, and I'm trying to do a little bit less of that this coming week. How was your week? Did you have a calm week, a cool week, a regular week, a super busy week, a less than busy week? Hmm? Because those weeks are great. Or did you have a terrible week? Because I hope you didn't. Because we here do not believe in always having bad weeks, bad days. Like, there are some valleys, but you gotta have some mountains in order to have a valley. So we're hoping that, if this week wasn't great for you, then F last week. This new week is going to be amazing. It's gonna get better. I am hoping that this week, although it's still pretty busy, I won't have any last minute busyness. That's the hope, that I'll be able to be busy with things that I have already scheduled and not like just add things to my plate, because a lot of that happened this past week. So enough about me. Let's talk about what we're doing and chatting about today. Actually, let's go back to me. As you may know, I'm doing an anime fast for this month. And so part of the fast is like me engaging with other stuff, but I still want to do these nerdy things. And so I'm trying to pick more nerdy animations or shows that are American based, or at least Latin anime, to chat about. And so I started this one conversation where I thought I was going to do like this psychological breakdown of all the main characters in Rick and Morty. And as I was writing it down, as I was figuring out my main thesis, I was figuring out what the message is for the week, it really became a Jerry apologist paper. So what was supposed to be the Rick and Morty episode is now the Jerry apologist papers. So buckle up. Let's see where we go with this particular message this week. For those of you who don't know, Rick and Morty is an adult animation on Adult Swim, several seasons, been going on for years now. And the main premise is Rick is this, how do you describe Rick? He's this alcoholic, smartest man in the universe, grandpa. Like, he's an older guy, very nihilistic, too smart for his own good, created like his own portal gun, the portal fluid, so that he can travel across different like universes or realities. So it's like infinite versions of him and everybody, and these different versions, interdimensional versions of them. And Morty is his grandson, 15-year-old kid who gets roped into Rick's adventures. So Rick and Morty are basically kind of like a little bit like Monster of the Week, although like they're not quite monsters. It's just like these random, hilarious, life altering adventures. And there are some like definitely some key through line things that are happening. First season, you really just see, Rick being like, "We gotta go do a thing, grandson," and Morty being like, "Oh, grandpa, no." But through the seasons, through the episodes, we're introduced more than just Rick and Morty. We get the rest of their family. You get Rick's daughter, Beth, her husband, Morty's father, Jerry, who we'll talk a lot more later, and then Morty's older sister, Rick's other grandchild, Summer, his granddaughter, Summer. And the family goes about on whatever interest too. Yeah, they know Rick is the smartest man in the universe, so he does a lot of weird things. Rick and Morty is one of those very interesting shows and fandoms where there's like a part of the fandom that doesn't quite get the satire and doesn't realize that like Rick is not the person you're supposed to immortalize. He's not the hero. He may be a protagonist. He's not a hero. He's not a good person. He has all of these deep things. And they get mad anytime the episode like deals with Rick being emotional or depressed or whatever. Because they want this godlike, like the god bat version of Rick that can do anything. And even in those episodes, you get to the point where you're like, Rick is clearly not happy. So those people, it's kind of like the folk that watched Fight Club and thought like, yeah, this is great. Like, no, you missed the point of Fight Club. But there is a very intelligent area of the fandom that like sees Rick for who he is, sees the imperfections of Rick's family and what Rick does to them. And the farther we get along in the seasons, the more we delve into why Rick's the way he is. You see really great character growth from Morty, Summer, Beth, yeah, kind of Jerry. We'll get to him in a second. Um, and it's kind of seeing in the world how things are reacted. And you also see Rick do things with like his supposed friends and what that means. Like you just get a lot of insight about who Rick is as a person in his history and why he's so gosh darn unhappy. Do not be a Rick, y'all. I was originally talking about this because I was like, oh, everyone deserves happiness. Kind of like all flawed people get a chance for a win. And I think that's true. But I wanted to hone in a little bit on Jerry. So Jerry's not just Beth's husband. Jerry is a sniveling kind of worm of a human being, kind of useless. Beth is also really, really smart. She's a horse surgeon. It shows that she has her father's intelligence, just doesn't have that F everybody kind of mentality because clearly she's a mother. Um, and she fell in love with Jerry, who is probably one of the first guys to like get the nerve to ask her out. He's what alphas would call not even a beta, but a full cuckold. Like there's so much to talk about how non-masculine, how non-cool Jerry is. Jerry's a bootlicker. Jerry is considered the weakest link of his family. Everybody else is doing this cool stuff, and everyone's just like, "Shut up, Jerry." Um, and they're not wrong. There's plenty of episodes that prove to you that Jerry is kind of useless, or Jerry just gets along on some weird luck when he doesn't. But being a worm has worked for him. Being a worm has got him the girl of his dreams because he genuinely loved Beth. Um, so they got married because he got Beth pregnant when she was a teenager with Summer. They have two kids, and he's kind of like not all he's kind of checked out on his life, but because he's a very simple person, very simple things that will make him happy. He is the butt of jokes in most episodes, and Rick vehemently hates him. Vehemently hates him, and with good reason. Again, I am not a full Jerry apologist. I just have to say the hate for Jerry sometimes get a little bit too much. And so, like, among for his other family, as like complicated as they are, like I see Summer as being about as smart as her mother, just stuck in this teenager, especially like the 17, 18-year-old teenage way where she cares a lot about like what other people think of her. She tries to dumb everything pretty much down because she's so engaged and I gotta look cute. I need a boyfriend. I need da da da. But there's like this really flashes of brilliance when she's probably like one of the most perceptive people in the family. She notices things before even other people in the family does notice them because Summer pays attention and Summer knows people. That's part of like not being popular because Summer isn't quite popular, but she's someone who aspires to do that. And I think she holds a lot of that. I'm trying to fit in and be what people expect me to be that her mother has as well. Because when we talk about Beth, Beth is really, really smart. Apparently she's a little sociopathic as a child. That's a whole episode. Um, but she tries to really conform to the everyday expectations of her. So like having a guy like her, being in love, getting married, having children. And then she does feel like her life is unfulfilled a bit because she's chasing this normalcy. And I think that is like a big tension between her and her dad, Rick, because he doesn't care about being normal. He doesn't care about the opinions of others. He just does what he wants. And Beth could have been that way, except Rick left them when she was a child, left her, her mother. And so now that her dad is back and living with them, she's a lot of the early seasons is her trying to just be the best daughter to gain his approval, whatever. And it's kind of sad to see, but it is what it is. But she can never gain full Rick's approval because he hates Sherry. And he makes it known. He undercuts Jerry. He talks about Jerry. There's so many episodes where Jerry is just, again, the butt of the joke. And everybody's in on it. The kids are in on it, his father. And Jerry is just like, It is what it is. I see myself a little bit in Beth, more of fulfilled Beth, because I don't really care what people think about me, and having that proper two kids, dog, picket fence house kind of thing. Life doesn't really quite pull me in that way that it did Beth. But Beth was also a teenager, so can't be too from a broken home. Like her father just up and disappeared, so I can understand where she went with that. I think the first episode when I started to see that's a little bit more like a Beth, and that I didn't think of Jerry as just the punching bag of the show is the episode where Rick takes Beth and Jerry to this alien couples retreat thing. I truly love this episode. It's one of my favorites. And at this alien couples retreat, you put on a helmet and it materializes a version of what you think of your partner. So when Jerry, I forget who does it first. I think it's Beth. And Beth creates this version of Jerry. Like when she sees this version, she just sees this giant flubber worm. Like he is like worm does definitely describe Jerry a lot. But then when Jerry puts on his helmet and he thinks of his version of Beth, it is like this xenomorph aliens type monster. Like she's a monster. She's a ballbuster. She's scary, creepy, and everything, and very intelligent. And the xenomorph realizes that worm Jerrys are super important, and she tells Beth at some point in the episode, like, Jerry is great. Like Jerry's super important. You can fulfill all your evil plans with a Jerry. You need more Jerrys. And Beth is like, what? And I was like, bad, because I feel like y'all don't understand the significance of a Jerry. So what is the significance of a Jerry? No, we're not even getting into that. The idea is even a Jerry, even somebody who you think is useless, worthless, dumb, not worth your time because you're so much better, they are not the static thing. They can surprise you in so many different ways, and that the things that you think you want may not be the things that are truly what you need in it. So, I mean, Rick has been trying his darndest to get them to split up because he hates Jerry and he just smells the mediocrity. But there are some things, especially for Beth, that a Jerry does. So, like, Jerry is not the super masculine, I'm going to fight the things, whatever. But we see him step up from time to time in different environments. We see him kind of step up during that episode with when they're in the marriage counseling thing and the xenomorph Beth and the worm Jerry's are like kind of taking over. He comes to the rescue to try to save Beth. Maybe not in the most spectacular way, but he puts the effort in because he just genuinely loves her. In the Kronberg universe, which I'm not going to get into because it's the whole thing, but Jerry is left alone when a lot of people are dying from this disease. And when they visit that reality again, you see a Jerry that has survived, outlived his family, is like has made the most to do in this world. And yes, part of that survival does make him a jerk. Like he becomes a little bit of an a-hole, and that because that's how he's learned to survive. But it shows that Jerry in certain circumstances can survive. Like there's this innate cowardly issues. Like there's a lot of parts of Jerry that you could see in someone like Baron Obsessed, where he's a nice guy TM, but doesn't really try hard and takes the coward way out of a lot of things. But when you put 1,000 Jerrys, and that Jerrys tend to be pretty good natured as well, they've learned to go with the flow. They also realize like, hey, I need an adult here, or this is way above my level and get help. And I think that's what's very interesting, and especially for Beth and Rick, is that these are people who never ask for help. These are people who are like, I hold the world on my shoulders. I do all the things myself. I'm the smartest person in the world. And it's really weird to them to see a Jerry to be like, I don't know how to do this thing. Please do this thing for me. And not feel ashamed about it. Like I think they say you ask for help, but you should feel shamed by it in some ways. There's also times when Jerry does assert himself and stick up and be like, no, I want to do things a different way. I don't agree with how you're doing this. And does his plans always succeed? No. Definitely not. But it shows that he's not like this complete invertebrate, that there is that he does see the world and does expect for like some kindness and some like help and support. And again, his plans generally fail. But I'm somebody who watches the show and I want a Jerry win. I love a show where Jerry can show off a little bit of backbone and tell Rick to F off. Um, take a step away from everybody else. So like, this is what I want to do, so I'm gonna do it. And yes, he gets laughed at by the group, but at the end of the day, it's like you wanted him to stand up, and he did. And he did. Now what? Like, for all the things you can say about Jerry being inattentive and dumb and just a general bootlicker, because he is. I will give that to you. Jerry is also one of the few people who will look at a situation and try to make it better, but not out violencing everything or out quipping, but in general, like, well, what can I do? Tell me what to do. How do I help make it better? I feel like if you didn't have a Jerry, you had a full show of just very narcissistic, egotistical people, and it's very different from Morty, because Morty does start off as like this very like character with, again, kind of like Jerry, no spine. He's pushed around by his grandfather. He's just pulled here and there and cannot say no. Like, it's a very abusive relationship, pretty much. Like, I think people understand that Rick and Morty is a very abusive relationship. Rick is very abusive to Morty. He doesn't stand up for himself, but as you see through the season, as Morty experiences more, as Morty meets more Mortys, as Morty understands and he sees some of the cruelties of different Ricks, he does. Like, he starts holding Rick to certain standards. He starts calling him out on his BS. Um, does not make Rick happy at all. Rick, in fact, becomes even more vindictive and petty because of it. Morty knows more than his dad because he's been in the Rick universe for longer and doing all the more things than happens. But I think there's a side to both of them, which is why I am here being a Jerry apologist and saying that you don't count these people out, that they're useless. How does this like really affect our real world, right? There are people around you, folk, you're just like, oh my gosh, this person is useless. They don't seem to know anything. I need them to be more XYZ, right? Love is not like I need them to be more of an a-hole, or I wish they were more domineering. Um, but I think sometimes when we hold certain beliefs and stereotypes about roles and genders and things of that nature, we may see certain characters and see certain people and be like, they should be this archetype of what I want them to be, versus they are this person and in a particular environment they would thrive. How do I break that down a little bit more? So you pick a person who's very empathetic. And I'm not saying that Jerry is. I'm just saying pick a very empathetic. And you're like, I wish they would toughen up. Or I wish they wouldn't cry over every little thing. Or I wish, they would not be so nice and like stand up for themselves. But in a different environment with different circumstances and support, you may see that they set boundaries in a different way. You may see that they're very helpful in getting you to talk about some stuff that you might be trying to ignore and harboring and don't understand why you can't touch your emotions. It's kind of going back to this idea that nobody is useless, that nobody, especially when you are someone who's worth it going to do it and like, type A, I'm pushing forward and I wish there were more people like me. And I tell this to myself a lot about voters and just how some people engage in some processes here in America. At the end of the day, even though I don't agree with them, that they are not useless. They're not. They're somebody who, when you have the patience, because I get it, every episode is not a Jerry episode where we need to have patience with him and his shenanigans and him just doing whatever. But there are times when you have the patience and you see this person and you're like, wow, why don't I look at it from your point of view? Why don't we have a discussion? Why don't we sit and chat and take some time? And then as you learn a bit more, maybe that will help you in the right circumstances take a stand. Yes, Jerry's a worm, but there's times when Jerry has been the one to stand up. There's been times where Jerry, being Jerry, was useful in helping other people. There's been spaces where Jerry was the linchpin to the episode and nobody knew it until the last moment. Um, that's across different versions of Jerry. Because again, we with the portal gun and the different dimensions, you get to see so many different versions of it. Like this is a running gag where there's various Ricks, various Mortys, various Beths and Summers and Jerry's. Even the whole it just if you don't watch Rick and Morty, which is fine, I'm not saying it's for everybody, but there is just so many nerdy callbacks where I'm just like, you should watch Rick and Morty, and you may truly enjoy some of the right, very complicated storytelling and character development that they're showing through this. But generally, I just say, like, I respect Jerry in pieces because I think that there have been some episodes that really shocked me and surprised me, and where I wanted to cheer him on, where I wanted him to be able to get one over on Rick, able for him to like stand up for himself, like I see what you're doing, and I know I'm the butt of the jokes, and like this is that doesn't hurt me, but this part of this situation does. And we need it. We need that to balance out, like I said, the whole character list of Rick and Morty because sometimes it can be a bit much on everyone trying to do the best thing for themselves. What I'm saying to us today is that there are some people we've written off and we may actually love them. Beth does generally love Jerry. It's just sometimes she just gets annoyed with him because he's so Jerry like. His kids do generally love Jerry, but they're like, you're not as cool as grandpa. You know, it could get that way. But there's times where he's really coming clutch. And those people that you do care about, but just annoy the crap out of you, that you think are going to be useless in a emergency situation or when you need help, may one day really surprise you. I'm not saying about this with an abusive person. Like, again, don't hang around abusive people. And I think there's a lot of areas of Rick and Morty where we see abusive behaviors. I can't really think of any off the top of my head come from Jerry particularly. I do think I've seen abusive behaviors really come from Rick, Beth, and a little bit Summer. But I think some of it's really Summer being a bully to her little brother, which is, I feel like a little bit different from abuse, but that's neither here nor there. So like, yeah, don't not an abusive person. Don't give them a chance. Don't feel like they can help you. Not a narcissistic person who is constantly trying to get, whatever they can out of you at your own expense. But some of the people that we, again, do not have, especially very intelligent people, do not have the patience for. I am someone, and I will say this all the time, I don't suffer fools well. Like, that's in a work environment, a friend environment, school. Like, you put me in the group project, and there's somebody who's just being dumb, and just, I don't have the patience. And as I've gotten older, I've learned that I should. Because the conversation isn't whether or not they're good at what I'm asking them to do right now. The conversation is what are they good at? And even if I have like a supervisee, somebody who I think is a really bad worker in this particular job that we're in, that doesn't mean they're a bad person. It just means like you're not in a correct space for yourself. And we should figure out what would be the correct space for you. Because then you can bring a lot of worth and a lot of ideas and skills to another environment. And I really wish that we didn't live in such a capitalistic society where most people could do work and jobs and occupations based on the skills that they actually have, rather than trying to make it ends meet and doing jobs that they're just clearly not qualified for. I don't have the skills or the abilities, and don't really want to work in it because it's not their jam. I'm finding people learning and getting the abilities and like building things up. Again, like Jerry in the Kronberg world, like he definitely in that dire situation has upped his skills level where he's able to like be this manlier version of a Jerry. I don't think as smart as or emotionally intelligent as other Jerrys in other universes, but that's a version of Jerry that we see happens in the most dire circumstances. But I do think if people were given a chance to show skills and people listen to them, like, what do you truly value and what can you do and what do you want to learn? Then we got it. And I think we could be kinder to people in general. And all this is me talking to myself too. Like, stop assuming every dumb person can't do things. They can do things. So yeah, that's my Rick and Morty episode. Oh, I probably will talk more about Rick and Morty, but that's my Jerry apologist episode for y'all today. I hope you have a fantastic week. I hope you're staying cool out there. Don't let Canada burn out your lungs. Maybe in a couple of years you won't get this reference, but yeah, stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye. The Blerd Church of Anime podcast is produced by Black Star, aka Lauren Tillman, written by Lauren Tillman, and hosted by Lauren Tillman. Music created by EL47.